talk. Today I would like to speak of the removal of distracting thoughts. It's all about understanding the unwholesome thought in our mind and removing them for the sake of happiness and peace. Understanding the unwholesome thoughts and removing them immediately is very important, not only in sitting meditation but also in any second of our life, because unwholesomeness is really negative, harmful to our happiness in daily life as well as the progress of meditation. So we know that we do any changes to the physical body if we feel pain. Even now, we may have unpleasant feelings of our legs and also any places of our body because of sitting for 1 hour. So we change our body, we change the way we keep our body. That is because we do not want unpleasant feelings. When it comes to the thoughts, we do the same changes. We should do that in order to make ourselves happy and peaceful. So removing distracting thoughts is covering one section of the Buddha's teaching. The section called Sila or morality is to remove or to cut off the unwholesomeness. We don't have that much time to speak on removing distracting thoughts as a whole concept, but I would like to speak to you about 5 ways of removing distracting thoughts. So there is a discourse called Vitakka Santana. This is the discourse in Majjhima Nikaya, the number is 20th. And this discourse is addressing this fact that removing distracting thoughts for the sake of peace and happiness. One day Buddha was in the greatest monastery in Savatthi called Jayewardenaramaya, and he said to monks that I'm going to speak you a piece of Dhamma that is beneficial for you. He said, bhikkhus, when a bhikkhu is persuading the higher mind, from time to time he or she should give attention to 5 signs. So if you speak to get developed higher mind, you need to pay attention time to time for 5 signs. The first one, giving attention to some sign, and owing to that sign there arise in him evil, unwholesome thought connected with desire, craving, hatred and delusion. So if some signs let arise unwholesome evil thoughts, then you have to pay attention to the other signs that these unwholesome evil thoughts reduce, remove. So basically it's the first sign we need to pay attention is the opposite signs of those unwholesome signs. For example, when we look at some pictures in the newspapers, in the television, they provoke our lust, restlessness. Some news items in the television, in the media, make us angry. So if any of those news items make us angry, we should not look at them, because they provoke us to be angry. They never help us to be peaceful. So this is what the first sign means. Any signs that develops craving, greed, hatred, ignorance should not be paid attention to. So this is the first one. The second one is so you try your best to pay attention to different signs that are peaceful. However, you cannot protect your mind arising of those unwholesomeness. Still you remember those negative signs, negative feelings, and so forth. Then what should we do? The second thing you could do is examining the danger of keeping all these negative signs. Suppose some news from any place of the world brings you anger, hatred, ill will, and you do not want to hear about them and you do not want to think about them, but still, even with so much effort, trying, you feel those things come to your mind. Then what you should think, what we should think about. Buddha asks us to think about the danger, consequences of having those feelings, sensation and thinking. If you really think about the danger of having all these unwholesome signs, then those unwholesome feelings slowly go away from our mind. The first one, you do not pay attention to those signs, then evil, unwholesome feelings go away. Even with that first thing, you cannot overcome unwholesome signs and feelings. Then you see the danger of those unwholesome signs and feelings. Then, as a result, negative unwholesomeness removes from your mind. Then Buddha said that even if the second attempt does not work, what we should do? The third thing, try to forget the signs or the feelings and do not pay attention to that. Try to forget it. Even if it comes over and over again, do not pay attention to it. This is the third one. The fourth one is, even if that does not work, you try your best to forget it. You try your best to pay attention to different things. still it does not work, then what should we do? Still your thought. It means that it's just like freezing your thoughts. Suppose anger is arising, lust is arising. No matter which way we try our best to overcome them, still this unwholesomeness, difficult thoughts, unwholesome thought arises. Just still and freeze that thought. It means that you kill that thought. It means that you either do not pay attention to it, or forget it, or disregard it. This is the fourth one you can do. The last thing you can do is with your tongue, press hard onto the roof of your mouth and try your best to get the maximum physical strength and forget it. For example, your mind is so angry, frustrated. Sometimes people try so hard with tying their physical body and teeth, cleansing their tongue onto the roof of the mouth. So they try it physically, so strongly. So tell you the 5 ways of removing distracting thought. Again, the first one, so you do not give attention to the signs that could develop greed, hatred and ignorance. So there are signs that these unwholesomeness could automatically produce in our heart. So we do not pay attention to those signs. So even if with that attempt, unwholesomeness, greed, hatred, ignorance could arise, then see the danger, see the unwholesome benefits from that. Disadvantage of keeping these thoughts should be examined. This is the second one. Third one, try to forget the thoughts, unwholesomeness. Third one. Then stilling thought, freezing thought. Just do all these methods explained to freeze that thought. It could be either forgetting, either not paying attention, combination of everything. Then the last one, tying your body and making so hard with your tongue and teeth, so you just try to overcome the negative emotion using your physical body, moving and tying it together. So this is very, very good, because sometimes we feel unwholesomeness arises and live with us for a long time. It's not easy. It's not easy to overcome unwholesomeness when they come, because they are so hard. They come organized with so many negative emotions. Sometimes we meditate and we know that our mind goes away from the meditation subject and try to live with sensual pleasures, lust, anything harmful to meditation right now could arise, and we know that it goes. Our attention goes. At the beginning, we think that, it's okay, we can get it back. But when the mind clings to those memories and let it live with that, it's so difficult to get it back, even with so much trying. And I said that this way of removing distracting thought is not only for during the meditation. We could be able to use it every day, every time when we do physical, mental, verbal actions. Because unwholesomeness is bad, negative, harmful every time. When unwholesomeness exists, the words and actions, thinking we do become unwholesome too. Therefore, we need to remove them. So just understand the gist of this teaching of the Buddha, that we need to remove unwholesome, distracting thoughts always. What does this mean again? They could come at any time. How they arise? They arise through the senses at the present moment based on past experiences, because we have the seed of greed, hatred and ignorance in our mind. Until we attain to the full enlightenment, we have the seed of greed, hatred and delusion. When there is this essence of greed, hatred and delusion in your mind, you are always vulnerable to create new greed, hatred and delusion. So Buddha warned us to be mindful, to examine the possibilities of greed, hatred and delusion. There was one monk during the time of the Buddha who experienced distracting thoughts. His name is Megya. We have taken the examples of Megya in many occasions when we talk about the distracting thoughts. He went to meditation and the place he selected was a beautiful place to meditate. It was a mango garden. There was no people, there was no any activity that is harmful to his meditation. So it was a perfect place for meditation. And he was so interested to meditate. But he was unable to meditate even though he tried so hard, because of the root causes of greed, hatred and delusion in his mind, and he did not address them well with the basic principles. In the discourse, Buddha said that you did not get maturity on association of good friends. You did not complete the training principles, sila, well enough to get into this meditation without any problem. Then you did not practice activities that helps you to develop perseverance. And you do not have perfect ways of conversation. For example, we have to converse ourselves with friends about the impermanence, about the way of understanding mindfulness. You should not talk about this and that could make you restless. So we have to be away from those things. It basically talks about the discipline on speech. So this monk, Megya, did not complete that into the level of good meditation. Then he did not practice basic things to arise wisdom. So we have certain practices that help us to develop the seed of wisdom, the faculty of wisdom. Unless you complete these basic training on sila and panya, wisdom, and then speeches and actions, you won't be able to do a good meditation, that uplift you, enhance your meditation into a super state. So here in this short Dhamma talk, I emphasize that there are 5 ways that we can apply when we have distracting thoughts. What are the 5 ways? When you feel that your mind is restless, or your mind associated with greed, hatred, delusion, just pay attention to a sign where you can remove it. At the same time, do not pay attention to the sign, objects that provoke you to have greed, hatred and delusion. This is the first one. The second thing you can do is to examine the danger. Suppose you are unmindful about the signs, about the things you need to pay attention. Therefore, unwholesomeness such as greed, hatred, delusion, ignorance, restlessness arose in you now. Then examine the danger. If I live like this, I must be in unhappiness always. Therefore, I need to remove. Think about the danger, consequences of having unwholesomeness. This is the second one. The third one I told you is that try to forget the thought. Suppose you are angry, suppose you are restless, suppose you are lustful, suppose you are stressful. Just forget about that mental state and pay attention to a different thing. The fourth one I told you is stilling thought, so that you can start good feeling, good thoughts. The last one is with the tongue pressing to the roof of your mouth, tying your body like this, try so hard to remove, to bear that unwholesomeness and to remove it. So these are the 5 ways of removing distracting thoughts, and I would like to give some time for you to ask any question if you like, if you have. This is very important because in the set meditation we would be okay, but in day-to-day life, when we associate different people, when we live in different culture, different set of social unit, we may not be mindful enough to apply any of these. Therefore, it is important to understand them and discuss them. So, any questions? Okay, so then that's the end of today's meditation and discussion. Now we move on to reading the loving kindness words of the Buddha. So this reading of Buddha's words on loving kindness is really